Happy 16th Amendment Day out there, America. On the show today is Michael, and over there is
Joe.
Joe. I want to put a fair warning out there to all the parents. This one is not children friendly. I'm probably going to slip in some expletives just because I'm very passionate, as is Joe, about this topic. And as we introduced it, it is Happy 16th Amendment Day. And I'm sure a lot of you were happy to crack open that symbolic checkbook and stroke a check to the federal government. Maybe it's out of just a sense of pride that you want to do it, or maybe you realize that if you don't do it, they're just going to come shoot you at some point. I mean, that's not step one, but at some point they'll just come shoot you. And the show is all politicians are liars and thieves. And if you listen to previous episodes, we have a quick intro. And Joe and myself, we spent a lot of time on that intro because we feel that it covers every aspect of a politician and a liar and a thief. And we do discuss recent headlines and we do sprinkle in some historical perspective. So we try to answer that question. How do we get out of this mess thinking that your favorite Congress critter or your mayor or your governor is going to solve your problem? Spoiler alert, not going to happen. We are not right. We're not left either. Each each politician on each side of the aisle, they're both liars and thieves. And I get it. It may sound cruel and unjust, and I understand there's a line of there's a degree of which you're a liar and a thief and a politician. If you looked at Thomas Massey, you would probably say he's less of a liar and a thief. Maybe he's not at all. But the records do indicate that he votes on the Constitution 90-ish% of the time, so there's some room for improvement there. And the other part of it, as I just stated, we do target both sides of the aisle, and your Congress critter will be in our crosshairs. And I think we've been fair to that, Joe. We have attacked both sides and call it out when we see it, and we will continue to do that. Getting into the heart of the show, maybe you're not aware, this is going to be America's 250th birthday. And in July, a lot of you will go out and celebrate the independence from the Crown of England. And maybe it's time we do some self reflection and ask ourselves if this income tax, for those of you not aware, the 16th Amendment was the income tax. And does this really sound reasonable? Does it sound reasonable that the executive branch has an armed force of IRS agents to make sure that you don't mess up on a form? And Joe, I think you're more educated on this piece, so you could probably speak to it a little bit better. Can you give us a short synopsis and overview of the 16th Amendment and those cruel days back in 1913?
So this amendment was passed in 1913, and it was passed through a campaign of manipulation to convince the public who's to support their state legislatures and the Congress to pass this amendment because they were going to, well, it's a phrase we hear still today. They were going to tax the rich. That was the move. That's what the 16th Amendment was all about, was taking money from the rich. Amazing to think now that people that can barely pay their rent, can hardly pay their mortgage, are now considered the rent. But that's the amendment that was passed. That's what we face today. That's why you're broken at the end of tax season, because we live in a progressive government finance system that wants to extract your wealth to pay for state ownership of everything, the good, the bad, and all. Everything the founders fought against. That's where we are today, thanks to the 16th Amendment.
And when I do the Google AI search, right, it says, quote, soak the rich. and that was the target demographic, and you've heard the saying, like, there's no such thing as a temporary government solution, and this thing has just expanded. I mean, it literally is like a black plague in England. Like, this thing has expanded to
With no
include
cure.
with and
With
there's
no
no cure
cure.
for it, right? There's no end to it. There's no there's no way to I I don't ever see how you're gonna fix it, and I'm looking at the Google AI again, like I said, a corporate tax and 1% tax was levied on the net income for corporations, and looking at the corporations and today's tax income conundrum, um, when I did a quick search on it a few weeks ago for our show, I saw that the income tax was 30 pages, roughly 30 pages. That's what the Google AI said. And today, you fast forward, it is 70,000 pages of just garbled, mumbled shit that you have to have an absolute when you go to an attorney, like, they specialize in this crap because it's so fucking convoluted. And I would be willing to bet that your attorneys, they probably specialize in corporate tax stuff, inheritance tax stuff, um, t t tax evadance, whatever the fuck that might mean, maybe an
Avoidance.
IRS
Avoidance.
avoidance, there we go. Um, so when you make a mistake on your fucking whatever the hell it is, I mean, they're gonna come after you for not only fucking fraud, but they want their back payments with penalties, with interest rates that don't even fucking make sense because, like, nowhere in the world does anybody get that kind of interest unless
Because
you're
nobody could enforce that kind of interest except an armed government.
an armed government, right? And these people, like, they're out of fucking control. I think it was Biden that increased the size of the IRS, and I'm pretty sure on this, I think he armed them. I don't know why you need your accountant to be fucking armed unless they plan on just shooting you. Who pays for that kind of service? Can you imagine go to the DMV and the lady behind the counter says, "You know what? I don't like your fucking attitude." She just shoots you in the head.
More to the point, could you imagine a corporation facing that kind of pushback on their taxes? No way. No way. No, there's no way they would face that. Only you as an individual.
Only the individual. And it is ironic that I'm gonna skip ahead to something here. I do have an outline, but I do wanna skip ahead to this. I saw a tweet today from Senator Elizabeth Warren, and I believe she is from you know what? I don't even fucking care where she's from.
Massachusetts, that's
There
where
we go,
she's from.
Massachusetts.
The
I
pollen
know
colony of Massachusetts Bay.
I just know she's one of 100 of those special elite politicians that get to fuck you over, and they get 6-year terms so they don't have to go out there and campaign with the minions every 2 like the other half of the Congress, and Senator Warren tweeted that I think she was complaining about corporations, and I'm gonna quote her. Here's the quote. You can go out there on the twatters and find it on Elizabeth Warren. That's her official government account, U.S. Senator from Massachusetts. And she has she, her, hers is her account. So she said, quote, if you paid even a penny in federal income tax last year, you paid more than Tesla, Southwest, Disney, Live Nation, HP, United, PayPal, CVS Health, Palantir, Citigroup, PG&E, 3M.
You know,
That's right.
I would goddamn well bet you that she had a vote in that in previous sessions of Congress. I
Which
bet
is
you
weird,
strong
right?
money.
Which is weird. She continues to say that's right. They paid zero in federal income tax. It's time for big corporations to pay their fair share. That Joe, she wants them to quote pay their fair share. Who who the fuck determines what the fair share is?
Isn't that funny business? There, I'm not. We've talked about this on a previous show here. The whole Citizens United case in front of the Supreme Court. Corporations are a business entity. They're not humans. They're not you, and they're not me.
Legal
No,
fictions.
illegal fictions. Exactly that. I don't think that the tax rates that apply to them should apply strictly the way they are, but there've been all kinds of, as you say, legal fictions made to structure one corporation one way, a different corporation another. At the end of the day, though, anything you tax a corporation for gets passed on to their customers in a very direct way. Corporations ought not be I guess the genesis of taxation per se, maybe under certain circumstances, but those people that are benefactors of these corporations, the stockholders, the capital gains sellers, should pay those taxes because that's where the money accrues.
Yeah, that's where the money accrues, and then it gets passed on to us if you're a shareholder, and then you pay I don't know what the rate is now specifically, but maybe 15, 25%.
Almost nothing because we're trying to shield those people from accountability.
Right. And then to say that they need to pay their fair share is absolute just maniacal bullshit, and she sits on, I don't know what's their fancy word in not boards, but, committees,
Committees.
right? They
Mhm.
sit on committees, and they determine a bunch of Yahoo bullshit, and then they walk away, and they wipe their hands of it, and just say, "I the only solution is, like, they need to pay their fair share." And they've been saying it for fucking decades,
Mhm.
like, decades.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, people they're stroking their symbolic check, and actually, I wanna sidetrack on a piece right here. So, if you don't pay them throughout the fucking year, your penance or your dues, if you don't pay them throughout the year, you will actually be fined a penalty because they thought that they should just take more from you, and it just wasn't fair to them for you to
Yeah.
have your money and
Yeah.
stroke it at the end of the year.
That's
This
right.
withholdings bullshit, that another scam, probably another topic for another day. I don't even know how it came into existence. I haven't researched it enough, but rest assured, you will pay a fine, a penalty, if you don't give them enough of your money throughout the year. Um, a wise man once said, "You don't have a cash flow problem, you got a spending problem."
Right.
And I don't think there will ever be enough money for the government to have to just go fuck around with willy-nilly.
Well, there can never be. If you consider, look at what we're doing overseas, right? And I'm not necessarily morally against what we're doing over in Iran, but this is a huge expense. It's an enormous expense. And not by itself. If we had done this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, before we decided to lay waste to the entire Middle East to this tune of trillions of dollars, this would be nothing. It'd be no big thing. The problem is that what we're facing as taxpayers is a never-ending cavalcade of expenses. They're expenses against us, your income, your ability to make money, your ability to prosper, coupled with the non-tax sources that are inflationary that destroy your buying power. It's crap. It's crap all the way around.
And it's a racket. I think we've touched on this on another show, and I mentioned it in several of the tweets that I post. I've sent it out there at least 4 times. A guy by the name of Major General Smedley Butler wrote a little essay. This is an easy read book, guys. If you can read a pamphlet, you can read this guy's essay. He calls it a book. It's probably 7 pages long, maybe. It's called War's a Racket. According to his biography, he is the most highly decorated Marine ever. So I believe he has some credibility here when he writes down his thoughts and his reflections on his time in the Marine Corps and what he was asked to do, who he was asked to do it by, and where he was asked to do it at. I mean, he flat out says he went down here to do some stuff for the oil guys. He went over here to take care of some stuff for the oil guys. He went over here to do some stuff for the banana guys. And at some point in his life, he said, "Holy shit, man! Like this is nothing but a huge shakedown. We're the knee crackers. We're the Marines. We'll come in there and we'll shoot you."
There's probably some credence to be given to a young devil dog telling the truth against this backdrop. I mean, he might be an Audie Murphy type for the Marine Corps. I don't know. He claims so. He could be, but his assessment of it is absolutely right on. We're into destruction for the sake of destruction and profitable rebuilding that has nothing to do with the government that our founders established.
Mhm. I do wanna ask, though, a philosophical question. Are taxes moral?
No, under no circumstance. And that's the reason the founders left out of the entire structure of the Constitution. Taxes under the Constitution were supposed to be equally laid across the states upon the state's ability to pay them. It was the 60th Amendment that struck that down and said that we will rape your people for everything they earn if we need to. Before that amendment was passed, before your great grandparents passed that amendment to sell you into slavery, you would had no interaction, not any interaction with the federal government. And that's the way the founders meant it to be. They meant for the states, the sovereign nations that formed the Union under a federated government to be the only people that face it. And the reason why that is because only states with their great resources could ever fight the federal government. They were the only ones that could meet them in the judiciary and win battles. You, me, if you think about all the constitutional amendment battles that have been fought through the years, and they've been prolific through the 20th century, very few people have the resources, the money, the support, the backing to fight a federal campaign to win judicial relief against federal government incursion. And so the federal tax, the income tax, simply took away your power as a citizen to be immune from federal interference. It turns you into a slave. It may not be the same as the brutal and awful slavery of the 18th or the 18th and 19th century, but it is horrible and brutal because you have no recourse if you don't have the money to fight it.
Tax cattle.
Tax cattle,
The good news is we get Saturday and Sunday off most of the time.
except for the first, I don't know how many, 16 weeks of the year, you spend those Saturdays and Sundays wondering if you paid enough to the federal government to not be taxed for the rest of the year.
I really think that at the heart of it, the government agencies, I think they have this hard on for going after you, and then they find what I'm gonna call a loophole where they can't get you for the crime, the bad crime, so they criminalize what would ordinarily be considered not criminal behavior. So your taxes, this is just a vague example. You fill out your taxes, you're like, "Yeah, I think that's right," because no person could ever digest and comprehend 70,000 pages of jumbled garbage written in
But
weird
ignorance of
speak.
the law is no excuse,
No
right?
excuse, Joe. So fucking
That's right.
excuse, right.
That's right.
And you get some that'll come and say, "You know what? Right here, where you signed this paper, that's actually fraud. So not only are we gonna charge you with fraud, but we want our money, we want the interest payments." I think we just covered on this earlier. And you can't like, you just can't do it. You probably have to sell a bunch of shit off, I'm guessing. They don't go after people that have millions of dollars. It just doesn't make sense. But
Those are the beneficiaries, right?
those are the beneficiaries. They're gonna come after the people making $87,000, and you're paying a lot of interest on your home, and your wife works from home, and you claim to have a part of the house. I'm not a tax attorney, nor am I an accountant, so I don't know these terms in and out, but if you take a portion of your house and write it off as a business expense, you know, those are probably the types of people they're gonna come after. And I'm reminded as I was thinking about this topic today, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Al Capone, I believe the government went after him and successfully prosecuted him on tax evasion.
Mhm.
Like, out of all the stuff this guy's did in his life, I wasn't there. I don't know what he did, what he didn't do. He's alleged to have killed a lot of people according to the movies and the theatrics. Maybe he didn't personally do it. Again, I don't know. I actually don't even really care. Here's what I do know. The guy was delivering a product that people were paying for, that the government at one point in time said it was okey dokey, like, go ahead and sell your liquor. And then at some point in time, they said, you know what? You ain't gonna do that shit no more, and we'll shoot you. So
To death. Shoot you to death.
shoot you to death, right?
Yep.
And I'm guessing there were some gangs. I'm not an expert on prohibition, but the name that always pops up is Al Capone, and he figured out how to deliver his product and how to get his money. Apparently, the bigger gang goes after the smaller gang, and they fucking got him.
That's right.
The fucking IRS, man. That's some crazy shit right there.
I had occasion years ago to live in Sicily as a funny segue. And Sicily is the home of La Cosa Nostra. And in living there, I realized that they may be a criminal organization in the way that you and I define it as in terms of legalism, but they make the 2000 and some year old legal system that exists in Sicily possible to comply with for the locals, right? And that's why the locals turn to them. They go to them. They have to pay their gas bill. They have to go to here and they have to do that. The mafia makes that possible because the government is so inundated with laws they have never ever repealed in 2,000 years that they're unfunctional. They're totally dysfunctional. And I think that was the gateway here to America is that for the first time with the Prohibition Amendment, the 18th Amendment, that we made laws unserviceable here. And so at the advent of the 18th Amendment, you have the spread of organized crime all over America. We did not, there were gangs, there were problems, there were places where people dealt with organized crime locally. There was never a national or multinational syndicate until we got into the business of judging morality.
Legislating morality. It's a never-ending circle.
It's the con. That's how
It
you get in there. That's how you sell your oppression to people that want to be saved.
right. If I can just make a law, we'll all be much better off.
That's right. And welcome to tax day, where here we are reaping the fruits of that, being strip mined for all that we have worked for and earned under the 16th Amendment to pay for this utopia that I can't tell that exists.
That is an excellent closeout, Joe. Happy Tax Day, America. All politicians are liars and thieves. We would be much appreciative if you head on over to our website, apalat.com. Follow us on Twitter, formerly known as X, APALAT Podcast. If you like what we're doing, drop a note, follow us, and we also have links on our webpage. Again, thanks for listening to the show, and happy tax day.